How can you get more motivated in school, or on the job for that matter? The answer lies in creating challenges. Challenges, in effect, force you to take another step, go a little further, try a little harder. Challenges promote the learning process and always lead to personal growth, whether you're in high school or trade school or even on the job. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. You're going to school, but are you really learning anything? Maybe yes, maybe no. It could be that you're fixating on memorizing right answers without ever learning the process, the reasoning that makes the answer right. Concentrate on learning the process and the answers will come naturally. Take the time to learn how to think, and you'll also enjoy learning more. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. The so-called experts who brought us new math, remember that? Well, they're at it again. Math experts are mandating the use of calculators in the classroom. Now, instead of learning how to solve a math problem, you learn how to work a calculator. Come on, calculators are fine, but understanding basic math skills is a necessity. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. When you run into a word you don't understand, take an educated guess. A knowledge of prefixes and roots is all it takes. Many of today's words actually came from meanings conceived in ancient times. To gain a bigger vocabulary, learn just 50 of the key prefixes and roots, and you will gain the meaning of over 150,000 different words. Now that's word power. I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. You run into a word you don't understand. You could run to the dictionary, but who's got time? Here's a tip. There are 50 simple prefixes and roots you can learn that can get you the meaning of over 150,000 different words. Take precursory. Pre means before, curse means to run. Precursory, to run or go before. For the list, write me at the address on your screen. I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Some math problems are easier to solve than you think. Try this one. Which is greater, 7/16 or 3/7? Before you run to a calculator, do this. Multiply the 7s and put it here on your left. Multiply the 3 and 16 and put it here on the right. Since 49 is greater than 48, 7/16 is greater than 3/7. Now, is that so tough? I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Some math problems seem scarier than they really are, and calculators may not help you very much. Try this one. 2/3 times 3/4 times 4/5 times 5/6 times 6/7 equals such a headache. No, watch this strategy. Cross out all common numerators and denominators. The 3's go, the 4's go, the 5's go, 6 go, and what's left? 2 7s. And that's the answer. I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Inextricable? Know what it means? Here's a quick way to figure out the meaning of tough words. Start by finding a word that sounds similar to a part of the original word. Take the word inextricable. The in means not. Now associate extric with the word extract, and you come up with not extractable or inseparable. When you don't have a dictionary, use a strategy. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Figuring a 15% tip at a restaurant in your head while everybody's watching, it's as easy as round off 1, 2, 3. Let's say the bill came to $37.60. Round off $37.60 to $38, divide by 2, add both figures, and now put the decimal point between the 5 and the 7. You've done it. A 15% tip, $5.70. You're brilliant. I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Big words scare you? Try this. Isolate the part of the word that gives you its gist. Take the word debilitate. The DE is a prefix meaning away from. It has a negative or bad feeling. So you can then assume that debilitate is bad or has a negative reaction with the sentence it's in. In fact, most words with DE are negative. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Multiple choice questions can be tricky. Here's a tip that'll save you time and confusion. Always start with the last choice and work backwards. You see, test makers often try to tempt or lure you into making a hasty decision by choosing the first choice you see. Don't fall for it. So instead of working your way from the first to the last choice, go from the last to the first choice. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Solving a problem is a two-step process. First, discover something in the question you can use as a springboard to something, anything you don't already have. Then, use a strategy to implement the discovery. For instance, to define the word malediction, we know mal is something bad, dict has something to do with speech, malediction, a saying which is bad. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Sometimes solving a problem only takes a little common sense. Which is greater, 77 times 88 or 87 times 77? Wait a minute, don't start calculating. Look at the numbers. Cross out the common 77s. Get rid of them. Now look at what's left. 88 is greater than 87. So 77 times 88 is greater than 87 times 77, and that's your answer. I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. You want to know, when are we going to get there? When are we going to get there? Here's how to figure it out. Check a road sign for the distance you have to go. Let's say 25 miles. Make that a numerator, the top of the fraction. Take your speed, say 50 miles an hour, and make that your denominator. Divide the bottom into the top, and the answer is your estimated time of arrival. In this case, a half an hour. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Having difficulty understanding what you read? Try this. Force yourself to get involved with the passage as if you were seeking directions to an important meaning. For example, you're reading something that starts out 500 years ago. 500 years ago? That'd be around 1500. What was life like back then? Don't be passive, get involved. You'll be amazed at how much more you'll understand. I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. What do intelligence tests really tell? A high score over 120 indicates you're above average, and you probably are smart. But lower scores, even under 100, aren't necessarily a sign of a lack of intelligence. More often, it's a sign that intelligence isn't being applied. Want to get smarter? Learn the strategies that lead to a higher score. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Want to understand more of what you read? Look for the key words that tell you what the author is saying. Positive words like moreover, besides, in fact, show the author is building support for the ideas stated. Negative words like although, however, in spite of, ensure the author is making an argument against the ideas presented. Look for the clues and better reading comprehension will follow. I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Want to get a higher score on your college entrance exam? Guess. No, I'm not saying don't get prepared or don't study. But when you hit a stumper, don't waste precious time on it. Take an educated guess and come back to it if you have time. The worst that can happen is you'll lose just 1/4 of a point on the SAT, and there's no penalty on the ACT. Give yourself an edge. Never let a question go unanswered. I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Have trouble remembering lists of information? Here's a simple memory device that can put your mind at ease. Create a mnemonic. A mnemonic is a word or phrase you make from the first letter of every item on a list. Use real words. Gibberish is too easy to forget. For example, to remember a grocery list with these items, bread, milk, apples, and lettuce, the mnemonic would be lamb. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Which is better, a public school or a private school? The answer might surprise you. True, a private school with fewer students per teacher would seem to have the advantage. But just as a garage is only as good as its mechanics, a school is really only as good as its teachers. If you have the benefit of a choice, don't check out the school, check out its teachers. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Why do so many dread so much math? Why can't you just learn practical math? Things you'll have to use as an adult, like balancing a checkbook. Well, you can, but here's what you're missing. Math teaches logic. Logic develops critical thinking, and critical thinking is always in demand. Math, it can be the difference between who advances and who stays behind. I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. With competition to get into college so fierce, many of you are placing too much importance on getting right answers. What's even more important is knowing how to get the answer right. Knowing the process is what makes you smart. Memorization wins battles, but it seldom wins the war. In other words, a good student knows the right answer. A smart student knows how to find it. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Analogy questions can be tricky unless you use a strategy. Charlatan is to deceit, as magician is to trickery, dancer to ballet, customer to bargain, playwright to ticket, or chemist to laboratory. Notice the first choices are people. The second choices are things associated with these people. So charlatan must be a person who deceives people, a magician one who tricks people, and that's the answer. I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Want to understand more of what you read? Here's a reading strategy that always works. As you read, look for 4 key elements in every passage: its main idea, specific information imparted, information implied, and the tone or mood of the passage. Practice the strategy until it becomes second nature to you, and you'll be amazed at how much more fun reading can be. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. There's a Chinese proverb that goes, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Learning only enough to pass today's test is not enough. You need to learn the strategies and thinking skills behind those answers. Without the background, there is no knowledge. With the background comes knowledge that'll last a lifetime. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. What's a great way to learn new things? Learn first how to think for yourself. For example, your teacher shows you how to solve a problem. Don't leave it there. Ask to do a new problem yourself right away using the same method. By learning the method, the process of finding the right answer, you'll eventually learn how to solve many problems and not just one. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Want to get better grades? Learn to profit from your mistakes. The key is to pay attention to what you've been missing. For example, first try and get your test back. Then when you get the test back, don't just look at what you've missed. Take the time to rework all your wrong answers until you get them right. Learn to profit from your mistakes, and chances are you won't make the same mistake again. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Taking the PSAT this year? That's the test you take before you take the SAT. Well, whether you've taken it or about to take it, here's something you can do that most students in the entire country ignore. You can request to have your test returned to you. That way you can see what you've missed, learn how to find the right answers, and profit from your mistakes so you won't make them the next time. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. How would you like to improve your grades? I mean really improve your grades. Here's a tip. Instead of always fixating on just getting the right answer, try concentrating on what strategies or skills should be used to arrive at that answer. Learning the right answer answers only one question, but learning the right strategy can help you answer hundreds of questions. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. So you didn't do so well on your last test. Don't worry about it. Do something about it. You know, there's usually a silver lining to something bad, even a low test score. What you need to do is take a positive approach. Use a wrong answer as motivation to finding the right one. Discover what you're doing wrong, and you'll do a lot more things right the next time. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. How can you get more interested in math and less anxious about it? Try not to memorize so much. Instead, look at why the math works out the way it does. There's logic involved here, reasoning. You start out with a few basic facts, and like a detective, go on to develop other facts or knowledge based on what you already know. You're Perry Mason, and every math problem is your latest case. For the Scholastic Moment, I'm Dr. Gary Gruber. Want to be a big success in school? You only have 3 things to do. 1, visualize. Imagine what it would be like to really be successful. 2, learn the skills and strategies necessary for problem solving. 3, practice. Challenge yourself to reach for higher and higher levels of accomplishment. Success lies within all of us, but it must be applied. I'm Dr. Gary Gruber.